A countdown marks 439 days and 19 hours until an unspecified global disaster begins. Soon after, NASA's systems detect a strange signal from deep space. Upon hearing about it, a scientist moves to the site and joins the researcher who first discovered it. By the next morning, dozens of scientists study the transmission and determine that it originates from 600 light years away. Among them, one researcher seems to recognize a hidden pattern within the data.
Something terrestrial, gotta be. Bouncing off the moon.
With only 71 days and 13 hours remaining, scientists begin intensive research based on their findings. They create a virus derived from the signal and start testing it on lab rats. Elsewhere, Carol Sturka, a best-selling author whose fantasy romance novel has become a cultural phenomenon, gives a public reading. Her large audience listens with excitement and cheers as she finishes, lining up afterward for autographs and photos. Yet Carol privately finds her own writing shallow and meaningless. She heads to Hyatt Regency to spend time with her partner Helen, trying to distract herself.
I'm sorry, should I know who you are?
Depends. You a big fan of mindless crap?
When the countdown reaches 29 days and 23 hours, two scientists conduct experiments on mice late at night in a large laboratory. They wear full protective suits, carefully following safety protocols. During an experiment, one mouse appears to die. The scientist who notices this prompts Jen to open the cage and check it. Unable to feel the heartbeat through her glove, Jen removes it, just as the mouse suddenly bites her finger.
Did he break the skin?
Yeah, it's through the glove.
She drops it in shock and runs to disinfect the wound while her colleague searches for the escaped animal. After locking the mouse back up, her colleague notices Jen trembling. Moments later, she collapses into violent convulsions, forcing her colleague to rush her into the decontamination chamber. Despite the effort, Jen shows signs of a dangerous and unknown infection. Soon after, she leaves the lab and kisses a security guard. Her colleague does the same to a janitor. The infection spreads rapidly, transmitted through even a simple kiss. Within hours, everyone in the laboratory is exposed. The staff, now eerily calm and synchronized, continue working as if guided by a shared purpose, collecting samples from one another and storing them in dozens of petri dishes. Jen deliberately contaminates food at the front desk, ensuring the virus escapes the lab. With only 3 hours remaining before the predicted global event, Carol and Helen return to their city from their tour. Carol offers to drive, but Helen refuses, reminding her that she is too drunk to be behind the wheel. Later that evening, they stop at a bar to unwind. Carol reflects on her writing career, torn between continuing the popular romance novels that made her famous and pursuing something more meaningful.
You really think Bitter Chrysalis is that good?
I think people will love it.
Carol asks Helen if she wants to smoke. Surprised, Helen laughs and asks since when Carol became a smoker, but she agrees, and the two head outside. As they step into the cool night air, Carol looks up and notices several planes flying in perfect formation across the sky. Pointing them out, she tells Helen how strange their synchronized movement seems. Before Helen can respond, a man nearby gets into his truck and suddenly crashes into another car in the parking lot.
Oh.
Carol rushes to help him and sees that he is trembling violently. She turns to call Helen for assistance, but Helen herself begins showing signs of infection. Panic rising, Carol runs back into the bar and realizes that everyone inside is infected. One by one, the patrons collapse into seizures while she remains strangely unaffected. Shaken and terrified, she pushes past the convulsing crowd, grabs the phone from a waiter, and tries to call 911, but the line is dead. Acting on instinct, she runs outside and tries to start their car, but her blood alcohol level prevents the ignition from recognizing her. Desperate, she drags Helen into the crashed truck and drives off. On the road, she passes a wrecked police car and watches the city below engulfed in flames. Her fear deepens as she takes in the chaos. Reaching the hospital, she discovers that everyone inside, including the doctors, nurses, and patients, is infected. For a brief moment, Helen regains consciousness, but soon collapses again. Checking her pulse, Carol realizes there is none. She falls to her knees, crying helplessly as she holds Helen in her arms. The virus affects everyone except Carol. After Helen dies, the people nearby suddenly regain awareness and turn their attention toward her. A doctor tries to kiss her, but the infection does not transfer. Speaking in unison, the group tells her they only want to help. Alarmed, Carol jumps into the truck and speeds away. As she drives through the city, she notices people working together to control fires while also watching her every move. Some begin walking in the same direction her vehicle is heading, as if following her. She manages to stay calm long enough to reach her house. Realizing she does not have her house key, she decides to break in by banging the door with a stone. Two children from next door, speaking in the same synchronized tone, tell her where she keeps her spare key. After retrieving it, she tells the kids to leave, and they obey immediately.
Leave me alone. Please.
Sure, Carol.
She carries Helen's lifeless body inside and begins locking down the house. As she secures the windows, Carol sees people outside working in perfect coordination, some carefully placing bodies into the back of a truck. When she turns on the television, the broadcast shows only one message, a note addressing her directly, asking her to call whenever she feels ready. Carol pours herself a drink to steady her nerves and calls the number shown on the screen. The man who answers introduces himself as a high-ranking government official. His voice is calm as he assures her that she is safe and should stay home for a few days while they clean up everything. Carol, suspicious, asks who they are, since the man keeps saying we. He explains that while he is a government official, his mind is now connected with the entire population.
Who is we?
We is us. Just us.
When she asks to speak with the President of the United States, he tells her the President is dead. No one is in charge, he says, yet at the same time, everyone is in charge. He explains that the infected population now operates under the influence of advanced extraterrestrial technology.
It's a recipe, it turns out, for a nucleotide sequence.
The official reveals that 14 months earlier, scientists decoded the signal from space and found it was not just data, but a formula. When recreated in the lab, it produced a virus that linked human minds together into one collective consciousness. The infection turned humanity into a single unified entity.
Nobody's in charge, or everybody's in charge.
Carol learns she is not the only one who resisted the transformation. Across the world, 11 others also remain separate from the hive mind. The collective wants her to join them, believing unity will bring her peace. Carol refuses and hangs up, telling the man she has no intention of becoming part of them.
So we can fix it. So you can join us.
Somewhere in the world, large-scale recovery operations are underway. A woman, now part of the unified collective, helps pull a body from a wrecked car. A man joins her to recover the body and load it onto a truck filled with others. She rides a motorcycle to the airport, boards a plane, and flies it to Albuquerque. It has been 11 hours and 26 minutes since the world merged into a single hive mind. Carol wakes up hungover and slowly accepts the reality around her. Overcome with grief, she takes a fresh blanket, wraps Helen's body in it, and begins digging a grave outside her home. After landing the plane, the woman enters a modern shower facility where other members of the collective respectfully attend to her. The task proves difficult as the soil is packed with solid rock and the work drags on for hours under intense heat. Exhausted and near collapse, Carol finally stops when a woman approaches and quietly offers her a bottle of water. Carol asks if they have been spying on her. The woman calmly explains that a military drone high above is monitoring her every move. Carol is puzzled since she has not seen any drones. The woman tells her it is watching from 40,000 meters above the ground and kindly offers the water again, expressing concern for her health.
Maybe you could slow down and take a break. You've been at it for 2 hours straight.
Carol empties the bottle onto the ground, showing defiance toward the gesture. The woman apologizes for upsetting her and leaves. Carol then notices that the visitor, later identified as Zosha, looks identical to a male character from her own novel named Raban. She quickly retrieves her book and asks the woman if she is Raban. Zosha explains that the resemblance exists because Helen's memories, now absorbed into the hive mind, have influenced how the collective interacts with Carol.
Helen is not one of you.
She joined us before she passed.
Frustrated, Carol yells at Zosha in the street, blaming her for Helen's death and saying they are the cause of all the current problems. Suddenly, Zosha collapses. Carol puts her in the car and drives toward the city. On the way, she notices that every connected person around the world becomes motionless and starts shaking. It becomes clear that Carol's strong emotions directly affect the collective, whose shared consciousness cannot handle such intensity. She tries to help a construction worker at a nearby site. Suddenly, everyone returns to normal, and a man from the site tells Carol he will take care of it.
Carol?
We can take it from here.
Carol then heads back home. Exhausted, she calls Zosha. When Zosha arrives, she offers to help and begins digging the grave while Carol rests. Carol asks if her outburst caused any damage. Zosha admits a few, and when Carol presses for details, she realizes that the brief paralysis triggered by her emotions has caused millions of deaths worldwide.
Hundreds?
Overwhelmed by guilt and exhaustion, Carol vomits and nearly faints. Zosha tells her there is a better way to dig the grave. Soon after, a helicopter delivers a small digging tractor to help with the rocky soil, and Zosha quickly finishes the task. As Carol recovers, she asks how many others are still uninfected like her. Zosha tells her that another person has recently regained awareness, a man in Paraguay, bringing the total to 13 worldwide.
11 others?
Actually, now there are 12.
Carol asks how many of the 13 speak English, and Zosha replies that 5 do. Carol decides she wants to meet them in person. Zosha seeks their consent through the collective mind and tells Carol they have all agreed. It has been 2 days and 2 hours since the collective took control. Carol boards an empty flight to Bilbao with Zosha, where a meeting of the unaffected is being arranged. Despite having the entire plane to herself, she chooses to sit alone in the economy section.
You're more than welcome to sit up front with us if you like. You could take the controls.
At the airport, Carol meets 5 others who can speak English. The atmosphere is uneasy as they introduce themselves. Among them are Shu Mei, Kusimayu, Laxmi, and Otgon Bayar, each accompanied by relatives already part of the hive. Carol greets all 4 of them with relief, and their relatives greet her in return.
Hello, Carol.
We're family members?
The 5th arrival is Kumba Diabate from Mauritania. He arrives late, traveling in style aboard the presidential jet of the United States. Inside, he enjoys every comfort available, surrounded by attendants provided by the collective, fully embracing the luxury of his position. Kumba shows Carol and the others the inside of the plane.
I am Kumba Diabate.
Bonjour, Carol Sturka. Nice plane.
Carol remains the only one unwilling to accept the new order. She arranges a private discussion for those who, like her, are not connected to the collective. She asks Zosha to turn off any microphones and cameras in the room so they can speak freely. Her goal is to find a way to restore humanity's independence. She asks if anyone has a background in science or medicine to understand what is happening to the connected, but no one in the group knows anything useful.
Any backgrounds in science of any kind?
Tension rises when Laxmi reveals that her grandfather was one of the many who died during Carol's earlier emotional outburst. She resents Carol for it and insists she needs to understand what the collective truly represents. Others join the debate, and Kumba argues that the world has improved under the hive mind. He explains that racism has disappeared, animals have been freed from captivity, and global crime has dropped to 0.
Why zoos are empty?
They empty them. Everywhere.
Carol warns them that things will soon become harsh when the collective decides to change them into one of them. Kusimayu tells her that all she wants is to be part of the collective. Carol warns her that it is not right to share everything that makes a person unique with others, but Kusimayu says she only wants to join her family, describing it as a wonderful feeling to be connected. When Carol admits she has never asked the collective what it feels like, the group becomes angry, accusing her of never caring enough to learn. She replies that she is smart enough not to ask a drug addict to describe the feeling of drugs.
Assuming that's even true, ask yourselves, what's been lost?
Kumba suggests they all have lunch, and the group joins the collective members. During lunch, they learn that the collective refuses to harm any living creature and has become entirely vegetarian. Kumba asks if they would kill if he requested it, but Zosha politely tells him they would not. The group then learns that 886 million people have died because of the incident. Carol is shocked by the number.
You killed 11 million.
Frustrated and unable to convince them that individuality still matters, Carol storms off after yelling at the group. When her temper finally breaks, she collapses. The collective rushes to help her, but as she screams at them, everyone linked to the hive falls into another brief trance. 2 days and 16 hours after the event, Carol wakes up and reflects on her outburst. The collective has no way to control or calm her emotions, and after seeing their loved ones suffer seizures because of her, everyone has left except Kumba.
Did they leave?
All but one.
Kumba approaches Carol with a surprising request. He wants her permission to take Zosha with him on his next trip. Carol yells at him for wanting to use someone who cannot think for herself. She tells him that Zosha should decide on her own. Zosha, trying not to upset either of them, says she does not want to make a choice, and Carol realizes that true independence is nearly impossible for anyone connected to the hive. For a brief moment, Zosha hesitates, showing a faint sign of personal will.
Please, work this out yourselves. We can't choose.
Yes, you can.
Carol decides to leave, separating herself from Kumba and the others. She boards the same empty plane and returns to the economy cabin, distancing herself from their world. Zosha chooses to remain with Kumba, but before Carol departs, the two women exchange a silent look that makes Carol pause. Just as the plane prepares for takeoff, she changes her mind and runs to stop Kumba's plane.